33-story hotel and condo project.
I'd probably be
Okay,
like
like
that.
stop, tap.
This is a plan by the community for the community.
This one here, show me.
No problem, Ken. Thanks for having me.
It's Kent Nowak for Kelowna Now. And we're joined by Raphael Nowak, a graduate student at UBCO, and a young man I met about 10 years ago as a little kid who had invented or created his own submersible camera.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
So here you are still using it for years as a researcher, studying the depths of Okanagan Lake.
Yeah, definitely studying and researching and exploring Okanagan Lake has been a long-time passion of mine. And like you said, I've been doing it for over 10 years now, I think when we first met in 2008.
Yeah.
And I've just continued with that, doing geology research, biology research, freshwater science research, and just studying the lake in terms of its science and history.
So, you send these submersible cameras down, and I guess a lot of what you see is what you expect to see, but from time to time you get a surprise.
Yeah. I mean, Okanagan Lake is a fairly well-studied lake in terms of fisheries and water quality and such topics, but we continue to find surprises and things that we're not expecting on almost every expedition that we're conducting.
Okay, and one of the things you mentioned in our previous conversation was that you'll have an area where the bottom of the lake is kind of uniform, and then all of a sudden there will be a large boulder that looks like it was just placed there.
Yeah, so those boulders, or also known as erratics or glacial erratics, are drop stones that would have been deposited by a retreating glacier or a melting glacier. And we definitely see those also in Okanagan Lake, and they just reflect the glacial geologic history of the lake. So it's quite unique and interesting to see these features on the lake floor, because they're definitely out of place, and you wouldn't expect them in an otherwise sandy, flat bottom.
Right, and then some other surprises that you've encountered, some of the like wrecks, for instance.
Yeah, so Okanagan Lake definitely had a very long history of anthropogenic interactions within the last century. I mean, you almost wouldn't expect it nowadays how many sternwheelers and tugboats and barges would cruise up and down the lake on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And with all of this interaction, you would expect some sort of remnants or relics to be on the lake floor. And indeed, we do see wrecks and remnants of the past, whether those are physical features, shipwrecks, but also you see indications in the sediment record of historic pollutants and contaminants that would have been deposited over the last century.
Back up to the wrecks part, though. You'll occasionally find a sizable watercraft that there's no record of it being there. So there you have your submersible putting along, and all of a sudden, a mystery.
Yeah, that does occur. And we also sometimes get tips from local old-timers that know the lake intimately and know of some secret wreck that exists somewhere offshore. But we've also come across unknown and yet unclassified wrecks on the lake floor. And
you were talking about a barge that you found. So this is a fairly large item. You're not expecting it. There it is.
Yeah.
And then you've been sort of trying to work back and figure out what sort of, is this in fact a barge? What kind of barge was it? And yet it doesn't seem to really match the style that would be for a typical railway barge.
Yeah, so throughout history there were many railcar barges, both wooden and steel-hulled, on the lake. And this one particular structure that we've been working on studying is definitely a barge structure. It's rectangular, so not like a typical boat or ship hull. We know it is a barge because it has the curved bow and stern portions. And like I said, it's rectangular in form. But we do not believe that it belongs to a railcar barge.
Right.
The dimensions just don't quite fit the historical CPR or CNR barges that would have been on the lake.
Right, so you just have to wonder, I guess, and continue to explore. And then you were saying that there are other geological sort of finds that you have. Some of it going back to the sort of volcanic activity that has happened in this area. Not so recently, but it's part of what developed this valley, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah, so within geologic history, the Okanagan Valley did experience volcanism before the glacial activity. And one of the famous volcanic deposits here are Mount Boucherie, and also the deposit between Bear Creek, Bear Lake, and Lakeview Heights by Calamore Regional Park. And what we've actually come across on one of our expeditions are remnants of this volcanic basalt type of volcanic stone deposited in Okanagan Lake that would have been subsequently eroded by glaciers. Right. So we suspect that the lava flow would have extended further into the Okanagan Valley, present-day Okanagan Lake, and was eroded in various intervals. But we're now seeing large slabs, almost like glacial erratics, of volcanic basalt sort of littering the lake floor in certain areas.
The other thing you mentioned was that I think that biologists presume that they have a pretty good idea of what the range of plants are that would grow in our lake, but occasionally you'll come across something that isn't in the record.
Yeah, so that's another thing that has interested me for a long time, is the biology of the lake, specifically the aquatic plants. And over the years I've come across various mystery plants and I couldn't identify them readily. I checked various local sources, fairly comprehensive aquatic plant surveys that were conducted in the Okanagan Basin over the years, and none of them had records of these plants. So through contacts with the local university, for example, and other professional contacts I've made over the years, I've been able to identify some new and unique plants, which I find very interesting.
Not new and unique to the planet, but to this area.
Correct, yeah. At least they were unknown to exist in Okanagan Lake.
There is something about a big body of water like Okanagan Lake, so dark and deep and mysterious, that seems to really stir people, in some cases to invent myths. But do you think you're in some way motivated by that same sense of mystery?
I'm definitely motivated by a very strong intellectual curiosity. That's always been my driving factor in life. I want to know what is going on, how do things work, why do they do the things they do. And I think this is what led me to start to, for example, create my own underwater robotics and underwater cameras and sonar equipment to start to probe the deepest regions of Okanagan Lake.
Yeah.
So I would say is my curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you would know more about this than me, but I would think that the nature of a lake makes it in a way more exciting to explore, because out in the ocean there's so much biology at the bottom of an ocean floor that a small item would so quickly be swallowed up in the growth of various things that it might never be found. But the lake bottom just lies sort of bare. And things will sink into the sediment, but it's there to be discovered.
Yeah, that is true. Also, I would add that Okanagan Lake, and other lakes as well, are not necessarily static environments. There is continual sediment deposition. So these figures can range from like 1 millimeter per year to 5 millimeters per year of annual sediment deposition from tributaries and just other atmospheric sources. So there is continual deposition. There's also various underwater, occasionally you get landslides or underwater submarine slides. So the bottom does change gradually, but more or less, and mostly, for example, coming back to the glacial erratics, those things have been down there for millennia, and they're just remnants of the past, showing us part of the glacial history of the lake.
Right. So is this something you want to keep on doing? Have you uncovered enough secrets in the depths to last a lifetime, or are you going to be at this when I talk to you in 10 more years?
I definitely want to continue doing this. I'm very passionate about this field and this hobby, so should I redo that?
No, carry on. Sometimes it gets noisy outside, don't worry about it. But okay, let's talk about this. So you've uncovered all these things. They go to geology and biology and history. And you're compiling it all into a book, I understand.
Exactly. So one of the things that I've noticed is, over the years, is we have all of this information about the lake, scientific, historical, whatever, but it's not readily in one source. There's no book on Okanagan Lake specifically, or a single paper where you can get all of this information in. So one of the things I've been working on for many years has been writing the first comprehensive book about Okanagan Lake that documents the science, the history, as well as my personal underwater research in Okanagan Lake. So this will be the first book ever written exclusively about the lake, and it will be looking at the lake from a holistic point of view, both above and underwater, along with over 300 color illustrations which will really provide a unique and immersive experience to the readers.
And when can somebody buy this book?
I'm currently in the finishing phases of the design and layout process, so hopefully by end of August I should be able to release the book to the public.
Do you have a working title yet?
Yeah, so the title is Okanagan Lake, and the subtitle is An Illustrated Exploration Above and Below the Waters.
Can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Raphael Nowak, thanks very much for coming in to Kelowna Now.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you very much for watching.